Nick Wire back for the 10th inning, giving you another episode of This Day in Sports History. In yesterday's episode, we saw Patrick Mahomes of the Kansas City Chiefs cap off his MVP season in 2018 with a win over the Oakland Raiders, capped off his 5,000-yard, 50-touchdown season. We don't have anything quite like that today, but we do have some NFL to talk about, we have some college football to get into, and some tennis. So if y'all enjoy this video, leave a like on it. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Let's get to it. This Day in Sports History. And we will start today's video off in the Australasian Championships in tennis 1906. On the men's side, Anthony Wilding would defeat Francis Fischer 6-0, 6-4, 6-4 in straight sets to win his first of two Australian Opens, first of 6 majors. 15 years later in 1921, remain at the Australasian Championships, and Rhys Gamel would defeat Alf Hedeman 7-5, 6-1, 6-4 in straight sets to claim his only major. Stay with tennis, move to team tennis now in 1952 at the 41st edition of the Davis Cup. Australia would defeat the USA 4-1 to win their 10th of 28 titles. 1 year later, remain at the Davis Cup in 1953, and Australia would once again defeat the USA, this time 3-2 to win their 11th of 28 Davis Cups. Our final Davis Cup of the day in 1958, the USA this time would defeat Australia by a score of 3-2 to win their 18th of 32 Davis Cups. Remain in 1958, go over to horse racing, and Bill Shoemaker would become the first jockey to win the National Riding Championships 4 times, which is the United States champion, which is measured by number of wins. Over to the NFL now in 1961 at the championship, the Green Bay Packers would win via shutout over the New York Giants 37-0, and this would be the first of 5 NFL titles won in a 7-season span by Vince Lombardi and the Packers. Remain at the NFL championship 6 years later in 1967, the Green Bay Packers would defeat the Dallas Cowboys in the Ice Bowl, temperatures at -15 degrees Fahrenheit. 21-17. Stay in 1967, this time go to the AFL Championship, and the Oakland Raiders would defeat the Houston Oilers 40-7 for their first AFL Championship. Remain at the NFL in 1972, we have the AFC and NFC Championship games. Start with the AFC, the Miami Dolphins would defeat the Pittsburgh Steelers 21-7. Then in the NFC, the Washington Redskins would defeat the Dallas Cowboys by a score of 26-3. Move over to the 1973 Australian Open in 1972, and on the women's side, Margaret Court would defeat Yvonne Goolagong 6-4, 7-5 in straight sets for her record 11th final Australian singles title, and this would be her 22nd of 24 major single titles. Finally, in 1972, in college football, at the Sugar Bowl, number 2 Oklahoma would defeat number 5 Penn State by a score of 14-0. Stay at the Sugar Bowl in 1973, number 3 Notre Dame would defeat number 1 Alabama by a score of 24-23. Remain in 1973, although it's part of the 1974 Australian Open on the women's side, Yvonne Goolagong would defeat Chris Evert 7-6, 4-6, 6-0, for her first of 4 Australian Open titles and her third of 8 overall. 1 year later, go to the 1975 Australian Open in 1974, and Yvonne Goolagong would once again retain her title, defeating Martina Navratilova 6-3, 6-2. This would be her 4th of 8 titles. Stay in 1974, this time at the Ballon d'Or in football, Ajax forward Johan Cruyff would win back-to-back awards and his 3rd overall for best player ahead of Franz Beckenbauer and Kazimierz Dana. Finally in 1974 at the Sugar Bowl, number 8 Nebraska would defeat number 18 Florida 13-10. And go right back to the Sugar Bowl 1 year later in 1975, and number 3 Alabama would defeat number 7 Penn State by a score of 13-6. 2 years later in 1977, as part of the year where they had 2 Australian Opens, Vitas Gerulaitis would win his first and only Grand Slam title, defeating John Lloyd 6-3, 7-6, 5-7, 3-6, 6-2. 11 years later, moved to the NHL in 1988, and Penguins center Mario Lemieux would account for all of his team's points in an 8-6 victory over the Devils, scoring 5 goals, each in a different way, even strength, power play, shorthanded, penalty, and empty net, also adding 3 assists on the day. We get into a ton of bowl games now. Started in 1995 at the Sugar Bowl. Number 13 Virginia Tech would defeat number 9 Texas 28-10. 1 year later at the Orange Bowl in 1996, number 6 Nebraska would defeat number 10 Virginia Tech 41-21. Up to the 1997 Fiesta Bowl, and number 10 Kansas State would defeat number 14 Syracuse 35-18. All the way up to 2014 now, we have the Fiesta Bowl and the Orange Bowl to talk about. In the Fiesta Bowl, number 20 Boise State would defeat number 10 Arizona 38-30. Then in the Orange Bowl, number 10 Georgia Tech would defeat number 8 Mississippi State 49-34. Our final of the bowl games in 2015 at the Orange Bowl, number 1 Clemson would defeat number 4 Oklahoma 37-17. 2 years later, in 2017, we moved to the NFL, and we talked the other day how the Detroit Lions were one of the worst teams in NFL history at 0-16. Well, the Cleveland Browns this season, they would lose 28-24 in a season-ending loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers, becoming only the second team in NFL history to finish a season with an 0-16 record. And we will end today's video off in 2018 in the NBA, and Houston Rockets guard James Harden would score 43 points in a Rockets 113-101 victory over the Grizzlies. This would be Harden's 4th straight game with over 40 points, 8th straight with over 35, joining Oscar Robertson as the only player with at least 35 points, 5 assists in 8 straight games. So there you have it. That's what happened on this day in sports history. If I left anything out, I do apologize, but I'll see everybody tomorrow for Nick Wire and the 10th inning.